everybody, welcome back to class. For today's lesson, we are going to be reading an informative passage about penguins. But before we get started with that, I'm going to pass out an index card to each of you. On the top, first I'd of course like you to put your name, and then I'd like you to answer this would you rather question real quick. You don't have to write any sort of explanation, just write your answer. Would you rather be a penguin for the day or have a penguin for the day? When you're done, you can flip that over and I'll come collect those. Thank you. Now, before we read our passage, let's all read our objective together. Given an informative passage, students will be able to retell the central idea and details about a story in a writing with 14 out of 17 points measured by a teacher's checklist. So after we read the passage together, you're each going to get this rubric right here to refer to during your writing and paper to write your paragraph on. Now, before we get started, can anyone tell me what an informative passage is? Joseph?
It's a piece of writing that has facts.
Yes, an informative passage is going to be a passage that tells facts or information. It's not going to have any opinions. It's not going to tell any fictional stories. It's going to be all true facts that we are learning in an informative passage. And what is the central idea, or what is a central idea and supporting details?
A central idea is the main idea, or like what the story is about, and the supporting details are just the evidence.
Yes, the central idea of a passage is going to be what the story is all about, and supporting details is just little pieces of evidence in the passage that are going to support the central idea. So I'm going to pass out a copy of the passage to each of you, and we are going to go read this together. Before we get started, who can tell me what the title of our passage is? Joseph, what's our title?
All about penguins.
All about penguins. The title is always at the top, and this is actually in some very funky font, so it's easy to see. And who is our author?
Head first.
Head first. Now, usually an author is a person, a first and last name, but this may be like a company or something. Okay, so I'm going to read this to you, and then we're going to talk about it. Penguins are a group of birds. Some can live in the cold of Antarctica. They gather in flocks to stay warm. They cannot fly, but use their wings to swim. They have smooth, waterproof, black and white feathers used for camouflage. They live half on land and half in sea. On land, penguins use their tails and wings to balance when standing. They can waddle on their feet or slide on their bellies, called tobogganing. Penguins can swim fast, up to 17 miles per hour. Larger penguins can dive up to almost 2,000 feet for over 20 minutes under the water. Most penguins eat krill, fish, and squid. Some penguins build a nest and others keep their eggs warm in a brooding pouch on their feet. Both parents help with eggs and chicks. Chicks eat regurgitated fish and krill. The chicks leave their parents when they are large enough to stay warm and then form a creche with other chicks. They grow their adult feathers and are fully grown at 2 to 3 months. Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit and just talk about some things in this passage that stood out to me. So the first thing that stood out to me is the second sentence. Some can live in the cold of Antarctica. Now, when I read this passage, I actually read it before I passed it out to you. I was very shocked when I heard that penguins live in Antarctica, because Antarctica is actually the coldest continent on Earth. And I looked it up. The average temperature in Antarctica is negative 76 degrees. So it's crazy to me that penguins can live and withstand in those kinds of temperatures. The next thing I want to talk about is that they cannot fly, but they use their wings to swim. Now, this is kind of abnormal because when we think of birds and we think of their wings and what they use them for, we think of flying. But for penguins, this is not the case. They actually use their wings to swim, not to fly. The next thing I want to talk about, the sentence right after says, they have smooth, waterproof, black and white feathers used for camouflage. Now, when I was thinking, why would penguins need to camouflage? And I thought maybe they need to camouflage to protect themselves from prey. Things like polar bears that may eat them. The white feathers they have may hide them in the snow and protect them from prey. The next thing I want to talk about Ooh, I'm going to move it down a little bit just so you can see it a little better. It says that penguins can swim fast up to 17 miles per hour right here, right under that picture. Now, 17 miles per hour may not sound super fast when you just read it, but when you think about it in reality, it actually is pretty fast. When you drive through a school zone with your mom or dad in the morning, you have to go a little slow, but you're actually going about 17 miles per hour. So penguins can swim as fast as we drive through a school zone. And in our next sentence, it talks about how penguins can dive up to almost 2,000 feet for over 20 minutes under the water. And 2,000 feet, I don't think you guys can even comprehend how big 2,000 feet is. I actually did a little comparison for you. 2,000 feet is as large as 6 football fields. When I look at a football field, just one football field, I think that it is big. Now put 6 of those together, and that is how deep penguins can dive under the water. And they can do this for over 20 minutes. I can hold my breath, I don't know about you guys, for about 30 seconds, and I am ready to come up, and I'm heavy breathing when I come up. But penguins can hold their breath for 20 minutes under the water. The next thing I want to talk about is how penguins eat krill, fish, and squid. Now, this is actually very common. Most marine life also eat krill, fish, and squid. So whales eat krill, fish, and squid, and things like seals also eat krill, fish, and squid. And down here it talks about how chicks eat regurgitated fish and krill. So they also eat fish and krill, but it's regurgitated. And regurgitated means that the mom or dad ate up the fish and krill and then spit it back up into the baby chick's mouth. And when you're talking about a baby penguin, you do not want to just say baby penguin, you want to call it a chick, because that is what a baby penguin's called. Just like a baby dog is called a puppy, a baby penguin is called a chick. So that's how you're going to refer to it if you're writing about that in your passage. And the final thing I want to talk about is how penguins are fully grown at 2 to 3 months. Now that is just crazy. Us as humans, we become fully grown probably, let's just say, on average at 18 years old. Chicks are fully grown at 2 to 3 months. So from here, in 2 to 3 months, from then, they'll already be this big. Now let's look at this picture right here. It's at the bottom right of your passage. The caption, which is what words that describe the photo, is emperor penguin and chick. So an emperor penguin is a type of penguin. It looks like this, and here it is with its chick. So when I look at this photo, the baby chick, or the chick, is black and white and gray, but the adult has some orange and yellow on it, so the feathers must change over time. And in the top left, we have another photo. This is a different type of penguin. This is a Gentoo penguin, and this looks different from the emperor penguin. It actually looks a little smaller to me. And here's the Gentoo penguin with its chick. Okay, now that we have read this together, we are going to fill in a circle map together. This will be very, very helpful when you are writing your paragraph. Okay. Off real quick. So in the middle of our circle map, you see the word penguin. And you can kind of think of this as your central idea. Now, when you're writing your central idea in your paragraph, you don't want to just put the central idea as penguin. That doesn't really make sense. But this is kind of overall just a brief kind of central idea. And the things that we're going to fill in all around the circle map are going to be supporting details. And it's actually going to be facts that we learned in our passage. So penguins is in the center, kind of our central idea. And our supporting details, we're going to write facts along the outside, what we learned about penguins in our passage. So I'm not going to do this independently. I'm going to have you guys help me. Let's start off with our first sentence. And what does our first sentence read? Who can read that aloud to me? My voice is hard. Joseph, what does that say?
Penguins are a group of birds.
Penguins are a group of birds. So what could we write right here as kind of a supporting detail?
Group of birds.
Group of birds. We could say that penguins are a type of bird. Now, when I fill this in, I'm not going to be writing full sentences. I'm not going to say penguins are a type of bird. I'm just quickly jotting something down, kind of like as a quick idea, so I can refer back to it in my writing. So I'm not going to be writing full sentences, just kind of quick notes. Let's read our next sentence. Some can live in the cold of Antarctica. So what could we write in our circle map for this?
Live in Antarctica.
Live in Antarctica. Now, if you choose to put this fact in your writing, it's going to be very important that you capitalize Antarctica with a capital A because it is a place, and we always capitalize places in our writing. Our next sentence reads, they gather in flocks to stay warm. So what could we say about penguins for this fact?
Gather to stay warm.
They gather to stay warm. And I'm going to put little parentheses, and I'm going to put the word flock, so that I know when they gather to stay warm, they are in a flock, kind of a group together, huddled together. Who can read our next sentence to us and share what we could come up and write for this? Joseph, read that next sentence for us.
They cannot fly, but use their wings to swim.
Yep, and we talked about this, how we thought it was a little funky that they're birds, but they don't fly. They use their wings to swim. Let's move on to our next sentence. What could we write based on our next sentence?
Black and white camouflage.
Yep, you could write black and white wings to camouflage. And why did I say that they probably camouflage?
To hide from prey.
To hide from prey. So I'm going to put to hide from prey. And of course, white would keep them very protected to hide in that snow. Okay. Let's see. They live half on land, half on sea. And when they're on land, what do they use their tails and wings for?
Balance.
Yep. They use their tails and wings to balance on land. It's important to say that they balance on land, because if you just say use their tails and wings to balance, that's not very informative. You want to make sure that you put they use their tails and wings to balance on land. Then it reads they can waddle on their feet or slide on their bellies. And what's it called when they slide on their bellies?
Tobogganing.
Yep. They toboggan. Which means to slide on their belly. Let's have someone come and fill in 2 facts. Our next 2 facts. Let's see, Joseph, let's see what he fills in. What kind of supporting details? These may be some that he may use in his passage or in his writing. Yep. He said they eat krill and fish, if you want to refer to this. So Joseph wrote for us, they eat krill and fish. Let's just add squid, because I remember reading that. They eat krill, fish, and squid, and they dive up to 2,000 feet deep. What else did it say when it talked about diving? That they dove 2,000 feet deep, and how long did they
20
stay
minutes.
underwater? 20 minutes they could stay underwater. Now this isn't said directly in the passage, but we kind of talked about it. What is a baby penguin called?
A chick.
A chick. A chick is a baby penguin. And I know it said this in the passage. How long does it take for a baby or for a chick to become fully grown?
2 to 3 months.
So we'll just kind of put that with the chick, fully grown at 2 to 3 months. What do chicks eat?
Regurgitated krill, fish, and squid.
Yep. Chicks eat regurgitated fish, krill, and squid. Which again, what did we say that was? When the mom or dad chews it up, spits it back into the chick's mouth. Okay, I think we got most of these. Are there any that I'm missing? Oh, I kind of see one. How do penguins keep their eggs warm?
Brooding.
Brooding. Brooding, which is a pouch by their feet, or it said that they also use nest to keep their eggs warm. Okay, now that we have the circle map, you should be able to write a paragraph very easily about our main idea, which is kind of what we wrote in the middle, and then a few supporting details. I don't want you to list all of these because that would take forever, and this paper is not big enough for that. But just choose a few of your favorites to write about. I'm going to pass out a writing rubric so you can refer to it when you're writing. And then when you're done, we are going to go over this together. Okay, now that we've finished our independent writing, we are going to go over our informative writing rubrics together. Now, when you go over this isn't going to be your final grade, but kind of just like a self-reflection and how you think you did. So I passed out a highlighter. You're going to use your highlighter for this checklist. If you think that you have met the standard, I want you to highlight it. And then when I go over it, I'll highlight it with a pink highlighter, and we'll see. If it makes orange, we both agree that you found it. At the bottom of our checklist, I'm going to move it up real quickly. Okay, at the bottom. Now, if you get 0 out of 9 on this checklist, that is unsatisfactory. That is a 1. It's not good. If you get 10 out of 13, it's partial, which means you kind of met the standards, but not completely. If you met 14 out of 15, which is our objective, 14, it was proficient, it was good. It met most of the standards, it's a good writing, good informative writing. And if you met 16 or all of the points, 17, it's advanced. You did extraordinary work. So let's start at the top. Our first one says, I introduced the topic at the beginning. So if you think that you introduced the topic at the beginning of your writing, go ahead and highlight that. And then I'm going to call on someone to share how they introduced their topic at the beginning. Okay, I saw Joseph highlight his. Joseph, can you read to us where in your passage or in your writing you introduced the topic?
I said, in the passage all about penguins, we learned about a lot of cool facts.
Yep. So that is the topic. He wrote, let me just see. I'm going to read it again. In the passage all about penguins, we learned lots of cool facts. So his topic is that the main idea, lots of cool facts we learned about penguins. So Joseph can check that off. Our next one, I use a lead that makes my reader want to learn about my topic. This is kind of like a hook. Some people may call it, I usually call it a hook, but some people may call it a lead. It's just something that you say in the very, very beginning, usually the first sentence of your writing, that just grabs the attention of the reader. So if you think that you used the lead that would make a reader want to learn more about what you wrote, go ahead and highlight that. And Joseph, can you share your lead with us?
Did you know that penguins can dive up to almost 2,000 feet?
That is a perfect lead. That is great. That would draw a reader in to read more. That's crazy. I didn't know they could do 2,000 feet. What else did he write about that may be interesting to me? So he can also check that out. Did you use any linking words and phrases? Some examples of linking words and phrases on our rubric checklist are such as, also, another, and, more, or the word but.
Yes.
Yep. So what can you read off? What linking words? Not the whole sentence, just some linking words that you used in your passage.
I used 1 second, a final, that's it.
Yep. So those are some linking words. One, another, also those such as also. So if you use any of those linking words, go ahead and highlight that. Did you start your sentences in different ways? Did you use different words?
Yes.
Read 2 sentences to us and let's hear how you started them differently.
I learned that they cannot fly, and those were just a few facts from all about penguins.
Yep, so he started both of those sentences very differently. Now this next one is going to probably be one of the most important ones. You should all be able to highlight this because that's basically what our whole objective was. Did you include facts, definition, and details to explain my topics? Our facts, definitions, and details will be supporting details, so you should all be able to check that one off. I'm not even going to call for any examples. The next one, did you include illustrations? I didn't ask you to include illustrations, so give yourself just a free point. Just cross that one off. Did you use specific vocabulary words related to my topic? So those will be words like this in our passage. You'll see some highlighted, or not highlighted, bolded words. Did you use any of those bolded words in your passage? And Joseph, can you share with us any of those words that you used, these bolded ones, like wings, swim, krill, nest?
I said Antarctica, I said wings, and that's it.
Yep, so those all relate to our topic about penguins. If you're talking about something else, like octopus or hamburgers, you're not going to use the word Antarctica. So those are specific vocabulary words that relate to our topic, which is penguins. Go ahead and highlight that. Next, this one is the last one specific to reading. Did you end your writing with a ending that would summarize your information?
Yes.
And can you share that summarizing with us, the ending?
Those were just a few facts from all about the penguins.
Yep. So if you just read the last sentence, you would know that Joseph wrote facts about penguins. He summarizes information. Okay, now this at the end is more to do with writing. We'll just quickly go over these. If you think that you indented the first line or the first paragraph, then go ahead and highlight that. If you think you used correct spelling, if you use the same verb tense for the whole piece, if you use punctuation correctly at the end of all your sentences should have a period, exclamation point, question mark. Did you start all your sentences with capital letters and capitalize all proper nouns? Like we talked about, Antarctica is a proper noun, it's a place. Did you capitalize all your proper nouns at the beginnings of your sentences? Are all your sentences complete sentences? Are there any run-on sentences? Are there any fragments that aren't really complete thoughts? They're kind of just parts of a sentence? Do all of your subjects and verbs agree? And is your handwriting neat and legible? Will I be able to read? Are your words too close together? Is it too sloppy? Is your handwriting too small? Now after you're done, count how many items on the checklist you highlighted to find your score below, and go ahead and write your score on the back of your writing piece. So this is Joseph's. He's going to write it on the back. How many points he got. And when you're doing that, just reflect on your objective. Did you get 14 out of 17? Did you get less than 14 out of 17? And if you did get less, think about how you can improve your writing for next time. Okay, I'm going to collect these real quick. Now that our lesson is pretty much over, I just want to ask you a few final questions. The first question I want to ask, I'm actually going to pass back these index cards that you wrote the answer to your would you rather question on. And I'd like you to reflect on your would you rather question. Reflect on whether you keep your answer the same, whether you change your answer. And I don't want you to just rewrite your answer or just write the answer. I want you to explain, use supporting details, use evidence from your passage to support your answer, and be ready to share your answer with the class. So, would you rather be a penguin for the day, or would you rather have a pet penguin for the day? And what evidence in the text led you to this answer? Now, while you're thinking of yours, I'll share mine real quick. Now, I think I would rather be a penguin for a day. And I think I'd rather be a penguin because I would love to live in Antarctica. I have lived in Florida my whole life. It's always been super hot. I'm always sweaty. I would like to see what it's like to live somewhere super cold for the day rather than super hot. Joseph, what was your first answer to the would you rather question before the passage?
To have a pet.
To have a pet penguin. And did your answer change?
Yeah.
And what evidence in the passage led you to change your answer?
That they swim up to 17 miles per hour.
Yep, that is a pretty cool fact. That's super fast. None of us can swim at 17 miles per hour, but if we were a penguin for the day, that's something we would be able to do. And just one last final question. Try to think of a different fact, but what was your favorite fact from the passage? And if it was the same one from your answer, what was your second favorite fact? Mine was, I'm going to go real quick. My favorite fact was probably that chicks are full grown at 2 to 3 months. I just think that's super cool how fast they grow, and it's so different from humans, and that was really interesting to me. Joseph, what was your second favorite fact or first favorite if it's different from your response?
They can dive up to 2,000 feet for over 20 minutes.
Yep, that is also a super cool fact like we talked about. That's about 6 football fields long. That is extremely deep, nothing that we as humans could do.